Not again, Dad, I said desperately as he barged into my room with yet another fancy new dress. This could only mean one thing: another date. My mom followed him inside and said, "We're off to a party now. Put those horrible books away and get to a salon. You clearly need a makeover." I rolled my eyes at them and said I wasn't going. Suddenly, their faces darkened, and my dad said, "It wasn't a request. You have one job, Angela. Get married." I was starting to get pissed off and said I didn't see why they were so obsessed with me getting married. Mom glared at me and said I had to go on this date. She said the guy was the son of one of my dad's biggest business partners. "If you don't go, you can kiss your freedom goodbye for a month," Dad threatened. I had a huge party planned with my friends, and no way was I going to be stuck at home. I reluctantly prepared myself for the evening that awaited me. The guy picked me up at 7 p.m. He was about 4 inches shorter than me, and he had his oily hair pulled back. "Hey there, babe. Couldn't you find something better to wear?" I rolled my eyes and looked at his neon yellow shirt. While drinking soup at the restaurant, Mike, my date, burnt his tongue and screamed so hard that 2 of his front teeth fell out. I couldn't compose myself anymore. I grabbed a cab and rushed home. A few days later, my parents barged into my room and yelled at me for deliberately sabotaging their deal. What deal? Apparently, the guy's dad was going to sign a deal with Dad if I started dating him. I gagged. They were furious and wouldn't listen to me when I tried to tell them what had happened. Dad yelled, "Shut up, you ugly moron." Then they slammed the door shut. I was locked inside. Thankfully, that evening, my Uncle Tom came home. He got me out of the room and told my parents to act like normal people. Dad glared at him, but Mom jumped to her feet and said, "I don't need any advice from you. No one here needs a gay man's advice." Uncle Tom looked horrified. I felt so sorry for him. He looked at my parents and said, "Just behave or I'll take her away." With that, he was gone. The next day at school, a boy came up to me and said, "Hi, I'm Peter." I looked at him suspiciously. He looked familiar. Just then, behind him, the most gorgeous girl I had ever seen appeared. My jaw dropped, and Peter introduced her as his sister, Penny. They were twins. The twins and I quickly became friends, and I would often invite them over. Apparently, their parents were uber rich, so Mom and Dad didn't mind. But one day, Mom came up to me and told me I had another date that evening. When I got to the restaurant, I was shocked to see that the person they had tried to set me up with was none other than Peter. I was furious, and I ran right back out. How could he think this was okay? I'd never even flirted with him. Peter caught up with me and asked me what was wrong. I told him I didn't have any plans to date him, and he said he was sorry. Then he said my parents had forced him and his twin sister to be my friends. I was furious. I rushed home and confronted my parents. They started to yell at me. "Do you know just how much we paid their parents?" I was stunned. Why would you pay them at all? They said it was because I was so dumb and good for nothing that I couldn't even make friends. I decided that this was all too much, and I told them I was leaving. I called Uncle Tom and asked him to come and get me. I thought life would be easy now that I was no longer living with my psycho parents. But boy, was I wrong. At school the next day, Peter approached me, and I told him that I didn't want to be friends with him anymore. He looked disappointed, but smiled and said, "It's okay, Angela. I understand completely." Without responding, I turned to leave. I had wanted to make a gracious exit, but to my horror, not 5 steps later, my foot got caught in something and I fell on my face. My nose started to bleed, and I quickly gathered my stuff and rushed away while everyone stared at me. I ran into the girls' bathroom to clean my face. Just as I was done, a notification popped up on my phone. It read, "Hello, Angela. I hate to break it to you, but if you don't do everything I say, I'm going to tell everyone your biggest secret. I have your diary." I laughed at such an old-fashioned prank, but the text messages were pictures from pages of my diary, where I hung up. My phone screen lit up. Ha ha ha, that was a fun show. I was furious. Whoever this person was, he or she was ruining my life. And I had a feeling that this was just the beginning. I was right. The next message asked me to do something even worse. Something I hadn't been prepared for. "Forget it," I messaged. "Are you sure? Are you truly ready for your secret to come out?" The truth was, I wasn't, but I also didn't think I could do this. So I didn't reply. Maybe I should have. The next day when I went to school, Penny marched up to me. "You are disgusting, Angela. I hate you. Stop spreading rumors about me." I tried to ask her what was wrong, but she slapped me in the face in front of everyone. Then she left. My phone pinged. I took it out and saw another message. "Enjoy." Oh no. Sure enough, I then received a link to a TikTok video. I played it. It said, "I'm gay, so I go on dates just to break men's hearts." It was followed by a video of me dumping water on my last date's head, the one who got my dad fired. To make matters worse, the video ended with a picture from my diary with mine and Penny's names written in hearts. My phone suddenly blew up with thousands of messages from Mom and Dad. All my friends were calling me too. Everyone wanted to know if this was true. I rushed home to Uncle Tom and barged into his room. Mom and Dad were already sitting there. They looked at me and then at Tom, waiting for him to say something. He got to his feet very slowly and said, "I'm sorry, Angela, but you can't live with me anymore." I was horrified. I asked him why, and he said that my parents were disowning me and wouldn't give me a single penny now that I had come out. They had also threatened to sue him if he tried to help me. I asked my parents if it was true, and they acted as if I weren't even there. I was certainly homeless. There was nowhere to go. There was no reason to stay in this town since everyone either hated me or thought I was a joke. Besides, I didn't want to play into the blackmailer's hands anymore. With whatever money I had, I moved to another town. In this new place, I got a job at McDonald's and even managed to enroll in college. Except for the occasional threatening message from my parents, it seemed like my life was almost headed towards normalcy. Or so I thought. On the very first day of college, I bumped into Peter. I had almost completely forgotten about him. He asked me what I studied, and I was thrilled to find out that we were doing the same major. I wasn't really thrilled, but at least I finally had a friend here. He was always with me. We hung out together, and he even got a job at McDonald's too. One day, he asked me out on a date. "I never truly got over you," he said, looking like a lovesick puppy. After all of my parents' messages, I knew that they would never accept a girl as my partner, so I gave in and agreed to date Peter. The very next day, I got a message from my parents telling me that they were so happy I was dating a guy. How the hell did they know? Was there no escaping these two? But the worst was yet to come. A few days after Peter and I started dating, he invited me to his house. While he was making dinner, I began to roam around the hallway when I came across a door he usually kept locked. He told me it was his storeroom. I went inside and almost passed out. This was no storeroom. The room was full of pictures of me, some of them as old as high school. Suddenly, a thought occurred to me, and I began to explore more. Where is it? Where is it? And then I saw it. In the middle of a pile of paper, my diary. I almost threw up. Peter! It had been Peter all along. But that's when he saw me leave the room. His jaw dropped. "Angela, I can explain, but there was nothing he could say about this." I ran. I ran to my place and locked the doors. Suddenly, I heard a knock on the door. I was almost certain Peter had followed me home. I looked through the peephole and almost jumped back in shock. It was the last person I had expected. Penny. I slowly opened the door to let her in, and almost passed out when I saw who was standing behind her. It was my brother, Zach. I hadn't seen him in years. I just stood there in shock with